Hello and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 10th edition battle report. This report's for a 1,000 point game that I played at a hobby club near to me when I played my Sisters of Battle against a guy's Grey Knights. Just quickly running through the list, I've got Morven Val as the Warlord, then I've got a Palatine leading Battle Sisters, St. Celestine leading some Seraphim, 5 Sacrosancts, and 3 Paragon Warsuits, and then I've got the Immolator and 2 Crusaders. A bit more detail on the list there. We've got Morven Val's Warlord with Fidelis, the Lance of Illumination, and the Paragon Missile Launcher, and she is leading a squad of Paragon Warsuits. They've all got Paragon Grenade Launchers, Paragon War Maces, and Multi-Melters, including the Sister Superior. Moving on, we've got St. Celestine with the 2 Gemini Superior, bolt pistol power weapons, and she's got the Ardent Blade herself, obviously, a torrent weapon at range and also a good melee weapon. And she's leading 5 Seraphim who've got close combat weapons for the Seraphim Superior, plus a pistol power weapon. Then the squad members have got bolt pistols and Ministorum hand flamers. Then moving on, we've got a Palatine with Palatine Blade, Plasma Pistol, and the Iron Surplice of St. Estella enhancements. Then we've got the 10 Battle Sisters that the Palatine is leading. We've got Melter Gun, Multi-Melter, and Simulacrum, and that squad is split by the Immolator, with the Palatine and the special and heavy weapons going in the Immolator, and the other girls having the job of just sitting on objective. Then we've got the Immolator, which split them, and that's got armoured tracks, heavy bolter, hunter-killer missile, and immolation flamers. Then we've got 5 Sacrosancts, who've got a Spear of the Faithful for the Superior with an Inferno pistol, and the other 4 have got bolt pistols and Halla maces. Then we've got 2 Crusaders, just a cheap unit to sit on an objective and score primaries. And then we've got the Grey Knights force who I was fighting against, which is again, Grandmaster Voldus was the Warlord, 95 points, 2 strike squads for the battle line, a Nemesis Dreadnought, and then the bulk of the force is a 10-man Paladin squad at 450 points. Grandmaster Voldus, 95 points, he's the Warlord, and he's got the Malleus Argyrum and the Stormbolter, and he is leading a squad of 10 Paladins with a Nemesis Force weapon, Stormbolter on the Paragon. Then you've got a Paladin Ancient with a banner, a Nemesis Force weapon. Then you've got a side cannon, another 4 side cannons, and Stormbolters. Then moving on, we've got the Nemesis Dreadnought, 205 points with a heavy incinerator, heavy side cannon, and a Nemesis Demon Great Hammer, which is shown on the model but not on this illustration, which I just downloaded. Then we've got the 2 strike squads who are 120 points times 2 with a Justicar, Nemesis Force weapons, Stormbolters, and we've got 2 of those 5-man squads. This is the setup after we deployed and played the Strike Forces Scout moves. Obviously we've got the Battle Sisters down the bottom right there, getting ready to try and contend this closest objective. Then we've got the Sacrosancts next to the home objective, looking at trying to contend the centre objective, while the Immolator and the Paragons are up on the far side of the board. This is the setup for the Grey Knights. Obviously, the Grey Knights actually went first in this game, so with their teleport shenanigans, they've got the flexibility to move around the board quite easily. You can see the Nemesis Dreadnought there, and then we've got the Paladins in that central building, and by this point the strike squads had already scouted forwards, ready to charge onto the objective, which they did at the end of that move. Now, this is the first move for the deployment and the scout moves, the Grey Knights. So that's where we've got everything. You can see the Battle Sister squad down on the far right there, and Sacrosanct Crusaders in the centre. Morvenval, the Paragons and the Immolator on the left-hand side of the board. Then in the centre we've got a Strike Squad and the Paladins, and on the right-hand side we've got a Strike Squad and the Nemesis Dread Knight. I was keeping Celestine the Gemini in reserve at this point, and the Palatine and the Heavy and Special Weapon Battle Sisters were on board the Immolator. So at the end of the Grey Knight's first move, they were sitting on those objectives, and Grandmaster Voldus and his Paladins did some of their teleport shenanigans, leaving the board. Obviously no primaries to be scored in the first round, but that left me with a choice about having to try and take those central objectives to stay in the game. So I moved the Immolator onto the left-hand side objective with a view to trying to take it, and also there was a secondary which that could have scored me for. The Sacrosancts moved into position, climbing out of the ruins, getting ready to shoot and charge at the central objective, and the Battle Sisters did the same on the right-hand side. At this stage I probably made a bit of a mistake. The Crusaders stayed where they were, but actually the Strike Squads are significantly stronger than the Battle Sisters, and realistically what I probably should have done is aim to concentrate both of my squads onto one objective rather than trying to take out one squad each. They might have stood a better chance then. Moving on, this was my shooting and charging phase, so again the only targets were the Strike Squads on the objectives, so the Celestian Sacrosancts shot the central and the Battle Sisters shot at the other one. And then they declared a charge afterwards, and we went into the fight phase. This is the setup after that. Obviously, after the fight back, I'd lost quite a lot of Sacrosancts and Battle Sisters because the Strike Squads are significantly stronger, and realistically I probably should have concentrated both squads onto one there. Here's how it looked at the end of the fight phase. A lot less Battle Sisters, a lot less Celestial Sacrosancts, and obviously contesting that objective, but that was pretty much all I could do. This was a score at the end of the first round. Obviously nothing for primaries. The Grey Knights scored Area of Denial for 5 points, which gave them 5 points of total, and the Sisters scored 2-man for Secure No Man's Land and 2-man for 2 points for Established Locust, giving them a grand total of 4 for the first battle round. Starting the second battle round, it was time to for the Grey Knights to go on the attack on that third objective that the Immolator was taking. So basically what happened is the Dread Knight teleported over to the central home objective, and the Paladins teleported more or less onto that objective which was being held by the Immolator. The Strike Squads were already engaged in combat, so they didn't have a choice on what to do. During the shooting and charging phase, the Dread Knight stayed where it was, but the Paladins and Grandmaster Voldus shot and charged at the Immolator. This was a missed opportunity. Here I should probably have used Fire Overwatch to try and get chip a few wounds off. It might not have done much because the Paladins have this ability that makes you -1 to hit and -1 to wound, but because I was running the Bringers of Flame detachment, the Immolators are at +1 strength, so that mitigates it a little bit, and the Flamers don't have to actually roll to hit. Still, the Paladins got a good save and an invul save as well, so it wouldn't have done a lot, but it might have just chipped a little bit off them and meant that the next move it could have maybe had a better chance at dealing with them. They effectively, at the end of that fight phase, had taken out the Immolator. Didn't blow up, luckily, and I was able to move the Palatine and the Battle Sisters with the special and heavy weapons into a position where they could shoot next move. Moving on to the Battle Sisters next round, obviously I'd lost the central objective and the right-hand objective, I've still got the Crusaders on our home objective, and I've got Morv and Val waiting to get involved. Still got Celestine and the Seraphim off the table in reserves. This is how the board looks. Obviously you can see the Immolator's now gone, and we've now got no Sacrosancts or Battle Sisters. And this you can see on the right hand side there, we've got the Palatine with her 5 Battle Sisters. So, this round it was time for Morv and Val to get involved, some shooting and charging. Obviously, Morv and Val, while she's leading a squad, does give them rerolls to hit and wound. My miracle dice had been pretty poor this game. That was going to be something of an issue. But here she is with the Paragons having moved into position, and you can see there they are lined up, getting ready to attack Grandmaster Voldus and the Paladins. And the Dread Knights still not really involved in this, and I was hoping that between the Heavy Weapon Battle Sisters and Morv and Val, I might be able to knock a chunk out of them, but it's that -1 to hit, -1 to wound that makes it difficult. This was the shooting and charging in this phase. Obviously the Grey Knights had used a ability to teleport one of the strike squads from the central objective to the right hand objective, and at the end of the movement phase, second movement phase, Celestine and the Seraphim deep striked within range of shooting at the Grey Knight with a view to charging them afterwards. At the end of the charge, this is where we ended up. One key thing I missed here was using Morv and Val's Righteous Repentance. I could have discarded 3 of my terrible miracle dice to have 3 extra attacks for the Fidelis and for the Light of Illumination, and that might have allowed me to do a little bit more damage. Thankfully, Celestine and the Seraphim had quite a good shooting round, and after the charge and the fight, they'd cleared out one strike squad completely, then consolidated back onto the objective, but in a way to sort of screen and make it difficult for the Grey Knights to manoeuvre. At the end of that round, the Grey Knights scored 15 for primaries, and they got 5 points for overwhelming force on the secondaries, which gave them 20 for the round, 25 overall. The Sisters only picked up 5 for primaries thanks to the Crusaders, and 2 for recover assets on the secondaries, giving them 7 points, or a total of 11 so far. The Grey Knights' only move for round 3 was to get the Dread Knight over. I think this was via some sort of teleportation shenanigans, but basically he got to a point where he could shoot into Morv and Val and the Paragons at -1 for shooting into combat, and then get involved with either the Battle Sisters or seeing what happened there. As expected, the Dread Knight shot and charged at the Morv and Val and the Paragons, who really should have done more damage in the last round, but again I forgot to use that Righteous Repentance. By the end of that fight, we'd effectively lost Morv and Val and all of the Paragons. However, the Paladins were down to 5 plus Grandmaster Voldus. Should have done better, could have done better, but they are a really tough unit to shift. The Sisters then didn't actually need to move, so they went straight into the shoot and charge. Again, thanks to those -1s, and a lack of good miracle dice and some unlucky rolling, they didn't do a lot of damage at all. This time I did actually sacrifice 3 miracle dice to improve the attacks of the Palatine, and she actually did knock the Nemesis Dread Knight down by quite a few wounds. I think by the end of the game he ended up on 4, but again this squad didn't last very long. It was over pretty quickly. They only had 1 melee specialist, and the shooting was just ineffective. It was pretty much down to, after this, it was the Crusaders and the Celestine able to still continue. That meant at the end of battle round 3, the Knights picked up 15 for primaries, 5 for secondaries. I can't remember which one it was they scored, giving them a total of 20, making 45 so far. The sisters got 5 for the Crusaders on the home objective, and they got 2 for no prisoners thanks to Celestine. So that gave them a total of 7, putting them on 18 so far. As you can see, going into round 4, we got a distinct lack of units. My army was in tatters. There was no way I was going to be able to get this swing this game back at all. Celestine did quite well, took out some strike squad members. Morvenval should have done better, really, and the Immolator was destroyed far too quickly. I missed the overwatch on the Immolator. That was a big mistake, and I should have sacrificed the miracle dice for Morvenval on her charge, a shooting and charging phase. It was a game where I felt like, okay, end of round 4, we got 15 primaries for the Grey Knights and 5 for no prisoner secondaries, giving them 20, 65 altogether. And we got 5 and 5 for the sisters. Storm hostile objective, that was thanks to Celestine, giving us 10, taking us up to 28. Last surviving person in the fight on that side of the board was the Palatine here. But she didn't last long against the Dread Knight and Grandmaster Voldus' squad. So at the end of Battle 5 round, we got 15 primaries for the Grey Knights. They picked up 4 for behind enemy lines in the secondaries, giving them 19 and a total of 84. The sisters got 10 for primaries because Celestine had secured that objective, and we'd still got the Crusaders objective. So that 10 points took us to 38. Overall, it felt like the sisters were outmatched in this setup, fighting an elite force like the Grey Knights, particularly the 10 Paladins led by Grandmaster Voldus. They seemed an incredibly difficult to shift unit. Probably would have helped if I'd concentrated more of my troops onto one strike squad at once. Probably should have remembered to use Overwatch on the Immolator when Grandmaster Voldus' squad charged, and I probably should have used the sacrificing miracle dice for extra attacks for Morvenval. Would it have made a difference? A little bit. I don't think this was the right list to beat this army, though. That's my view. Hope you've enjoyed the video anyway. Hope you thought it was interesting. If you've got any suggestions on how I could have won this game, or how I could play a slightly different list that might have been more effective, then I would love to hear it. Please share it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks again for watching. Bye.